take some examples. ISO 27001, for example, has got 116 clauses. Now, this is kind of a misstatement, and I have intentionally done that. The reason being, if you go through all of the clauses, which is clause 4 to 10, and there are only those many of them, clause 4 to 10, which is 7 of them, right? If you read deeper into them, they result in 116 different things that you have got to do. And I would like to point out that it is not so straightforward at all, because those 116 of them, they may set up an expectation, they may have a requirement that actually results in either multiple things to be done by the same department, or sometimes multiple different departments or functions having to do something to ensure that you're compliant with that particular requirement, right? So there are 116 of these outcomes. So whoever is listening here, please do not assume that there are 116 clauses. There are only 7 clauses out of 10 that actually we need to implement, but they result into these 116 clauses. And then there are directly 114 controls. That's a very well-known thing, that ISO 27001 has got 114 controls. And here again, the same aspect applies, that anyone who has gone through the standards document of ISO 27001 will know that a particular control usually cannot be fulfilled by one function or one department. They usually result into multiple different actions or tasks that need to be taken up for compliance with that one single control, right? So on the whole, you can say that just for ISO 27001 alone, there are 260 things, 230 different things that need to be done. This is 116 plus 114. Although I'm saying that if you really want to comply with ISO 27001, then in that case, there will be a lot many more than 230. Looking at PCI DSS, there are 12 requirements overall, which, if you go deeper, result into these 323 requirements. And this is a publicly available document. The requirements list is published online. So anyone who either has got a need to implement PCI DSS or maybe go for the certification, they can actually download this document and have a look at it themselves. And these 323 of them, again, just like ISO 27001, same case, that you cannot expect that you will do exactly 323 things and you will be done. You will probably be required to do take up several more activities across several functions to ensure that you are complying with all of these 323 requirements.
Shailendra, I'd like to stop you here. We have a question. What do you mean by a control?
Okay, so that's a good question. So see, um, in the simplest way, I can say that a control is something that you implement to improve your security or to become compliant with something. Look at it this way: control, in literal English, you could say, is equivalent to restriction, right? We use the word control because that control, if you have control over something, you have got the ability to restrict either that process or that person from either doing something or not doing something, right? And the best example I can take up here to explain this is access control. Now, if we we interact with so many web applications, and you have your username and your password set up, and unless and until you provide the username and password, you cannot. Sorry, there is a lot of wind here. Okay, so unless and until you provide your username and password, you will not be able to use that application, right? Now, what is the additional level of control that can be implemented there? And this is something that most people may have experienced, that you are required to have a password that is a certain minimum length. You are required to have a password that has got a number in it, that has got a special character in it, that it has got a capital letter in it, right? So at the base level, there is your password, but then you have implemented additional level of restrictions which require the user to set up a password in that manner. Now, this is what we call as controls. So here, additional password controls have been implemented, right? I hope that that clarification was sufficient. If not, then please go ahead and post your next question. I'll address it as soon as possible. Right. So having said that, let me get back to what I was saying. The next was EU GDPR. Now, at a high level, EU GDPR expects 7 principles to be followed, right? And although it sounds very easy that, oh, it's just 7 principles, it is not the case that you can just go ahead and very quickly go ahead be able to implement it. The reason being that when you look deeper into the 7 principles, specifically the specific expectations that have been set up in the sections and articles of EU GDPR alone, you will end up realizing that you actually need to conduct a gap assessment of your entire organization, whether you are compliant with the 7 principles or not. These 7 principles, in my experience alone, would result into roughly 90 to 100 different things that need to change in our organization. Now, I would like to point out here that EU GDPR has kind of become the most um, common example of regulatory compliance. But then, if you look at all of the regulations that have come up post EU GDPR, publication in 2018, all of them kind of reflect the same ideas that organizations need to comply with the same requirements, right? Which effectively means that it does not matter which region you're located in, which kind of demographic you serve, you still need to implement this pretty much the same 90 to 100 things, make those changes happen. Now, again, look at the volume. Again, even though I'm saying that there are 7 principles, it is still almost 100 different things to do. As I said earlier, keeping in line with whatever has been explained so far. Again, a lot of volume of requirements to be taken care of. Next is an example of a framework. Now, this is something that you could take up on your own, meaning, let's say you're not chasing any kind of certification. Let's say you're fortunate enough that too many regulations that do not apply to you, but you still are concerned about your security. In which case, then it is preferable that you take up something like CSS star CAIQ version 3.1. I'll just explain what is CAIQ, which is common as uh, okay, I'm forgetting the name of it. It is basically a questionnaire that combines all of the various standards together and has created a list of 295 questions that you can answer as a yes or no. And if you answer it as a no, then you go ahead and convert it into some kind of an activity or a task that you take up, that you go ahead and implement. Now, at the lowest level, you will end up saying no to all of them. At the highest level, you will say, okay, all 295 have been implemented. But going from a certain level of compliance to the highest level of compliance, you will still have several of them to be tracked, right? Look at the net result of all of these predefined options that you could choose for your security and compliance. We are talking of literally hundreds of things to be tracked. And I have already mentioned it. These are across multiple different functions in your organization. These are things that require you to interact with multiple people and multiple departments. These are things that you need to track using very few people. Again, coming back to the same conclusion that checklist is the right way of doing it. In any case, it is practically impossible if you do not have a checklist based tracking system if you intend to be secure or compliant, simply because of the volume of it.